This is a big one. Chris Lee, the creative director of RTFKT, arguably the most successful NFT project of the last 18 months. Yeah, Bored Apes, whatever. And now listed as a senior director of design at Nike. He was the guy responsible for the Cybertruck shoes. You know that infamous picture of Elon with Grimes and he's got this graffiti on his suit and he's wearing the cyber shoes? Yes, that guy. Now Chris is one of those rare creators, one who instinctively knows where the juice is and how to pivot so he is always there. This was an incredible chat covering the early years hustling libraries to teach himself 3D animation, through to designing MySpace pages for rappers, to the explosion of his skins career. With Benoit and Zaptio, he's also created the first truly Web3 street brand and managed to retain creative independence despite the company being acquired by the #1 sneaker brand in the world, Nike. Who dat? This didn't just happen. There's an energy about Chris that very few have, and this was an absolute pleasure. So it's my great pleasure and privilege to welcome Chris Lee, creative director of RTFKT, to the stream. It's been a long time coming, but it's not your usual face here, dude. What's going on?
Oh man, these are our filters that we're going to be rolling out to the community, or all Clegfx holders. But it's something we've been working on for a while with Taffy or DAS 3D. They've been helping us rig up the models and everything. They did a phenomenal job on these filters. It was like a shit ton of traits to go through. But you know, I have this one, and then there's another work in progress one, which looks like this. Let's see if it can load. This one loaded? Hold on.
We see your real face now.
Oh, hold up. I don't know why the other one's not loading anymore. So weird. Okay, it's fine. Yeah, the other one has a tongue, but eventually traits where it covers the mouth. Like if it's a big tongue, it's just gonna like wiggle a little bit when you talk.
Do you think people give Snapchat enough credit? Because like they're doing some really cool stuff.
No, to be honest, I don't know. The thing is, I'm in the mix within the community, the Lens creators community. So it seems like everybody knows what's up, but maybe not a lot of people from the outside world, but who knows? Because a lot of people use, I've seen people use TikTok filters, Snapchat filters, and Instagram filters. But my favorite by far is the Lens Studio application. It's so phenomenal for use of creating filters, AR filters, etc.
And it's wild to see clones come alive, because I think for a lot of people, there's quite a big gap between a thing that they can trade on OpenSea and then a thing that they can use and start to express themselves through. I think there's still a big old gap. So it's fun to see something that feels like it's very refined and polished and sculptural and shouldn't be touched, being just played with and plastic and alive like it is with you right now.
Yeah, like we actually use these filters in our Nike meetings. Which is kind of awesome. So imagine like this company or company meeting on Zoom, and also we just bust in the room with a bunch of these funky filters on our face. But yeah, man, it's getting there. I know some artists, some companies working on LiDAR with the iPhone, so that you can pass your hand in front of it and it won't do this thing. So like your hand will be automatically rotoscoped. So when you pass over an AR filter, your hand goes in front of it and not behind it. I've seen some of these demos 2 years ago, not with the face filter, but some guy was showing off some tech demo where he was showing AR objects in his kitchen. And he was able to go in front of it. So like, I think he placed something on his kitchen table and he walked in front of it. So because of the rotoscoping, the automatic rotoscoping, I think it's like AI that like detects the human being and cuts them out. It makes the AR look like it's embedded into the scene, which is crazy. That I feel like that's the next step in AR evolution, is once we have clipping with objects and real world objects.
So you use the word rotoscoping for anyone who's at home who hasn't grown up in visual effects, rotoscoping is the act of manually tracing around an object frame by frame over and over and over again to cut it out or isolate it from a scene. And like we have these Photoshop filters where you can just send a photo and it removes the background. But imagine doing that process manually over and over. And like in the old days, they would literally cut the film and then stick it back on. Like rotoscoping is a real art form. And like being able to just cut objects out, you know, in After Effects, you have this motion sketch where you can just paint like a hand and then the AI will figure out where it is. And it's getting so good. But I think what you're saying, like compositing tools will become like real time in AI. So you'll have, you'll be able to kind of get light wrap. Light wrap for me that's where it all becomes beyond sick, because there's no light wrap on you at the moment. The compositing looks weird, but the lighting looks all right. But once we get the light wrap and it's just sitting there, you're just like, oh my God. This is gonna be nuts.
I remember the light wrap effect. I used to use it heavily in my VFX comps.
I could imagine.
But here's the thing: there's a little joke in the VFX community where, and again, maybe hopefully the audience is old enough to understand what I'm talking about. But do you remember the show Babylon 5?
Dude.
Yeah. So there's a joke where if you add too much to light wrap, you're like, oh, you're getting the Babylon 5 look or the Firefly look, because all those mid or late 90s sci-fi TV shows, they heavily use light wrap around all their actors, like to blend them in CGI. So you can always tell when there's like light wrap around the subject. It's
the heavy bloom, effects, just to kind of hide the green screen edges. Yeah, no, I know the one. That show was wild though, because I remember the exterior space scenes. They used crash zooms and they used like almost handheld camera effects, and it was like, you can do that? Like what? This is wild. Well, this gives us a nice link to talk about something that I desperately wanted to get into, which was the story of little Chris up until the Artifact days. Like, what were you doing before you met Benoit and the others?
Yeah, so every time I get asked this, it's so hard on where to start in the story. But I guess I was always an artist since I was like 7, 8 years old. I was that kid that was always doodling, drawing in classes. But it led me into creating like stop motion claymation films, and then getting into 3D at an early age. I think I did my first 3D short film at the age of 11 in 1997. So this is a year right after Toy Story came out.
What were you using? Was that Maya?
No, I couldn't afford Maya. So I'll get into that. This is crazy. So the story I'm going to explain for any artist listening, this is really the story of there's no excuses. So the first thing I did was I always dreamed of having a 3D program. Like I knew it was expensive. I didn't know where to look. So I remember there was a program that my mom and dad bought me from Office Depot. And it was funny at the time, Office Depot used to sell a 3D software, but it was one of them was Bryce. So Bryce was like a terrain 3D package. And then there was Carrera. And then there was all those expensive ones that I remember they were behind the table, locked up in a glass display. And as a kid, I was like, I want one of those one day. But then there's the one that was in the other software aisle. And if you guys remember, like software came in big ass boxes, like giant boxes, but there was one called Simply 3D. And it was like $35 or $45, something like that. So that was like, oh shit, it does 3D. I looked at the back of the box. Cool. My mom and dad bought it for me. And then I did a really short film that is inspired by Pokemon. But the issue with this 3D program is there's no polygonal modeling. You just have to put shapes together. So I had to do that whole shape. It's like bashing shapes, like a sphere for a head, a torso with the cylinders coming out, or cones for fingers. So I did the short film, and also another issue is there's no animation sequencer at all. No timeline. So with my claymation mindset.
Oh no.
I literally, and this sounds backwards because like in the world of 3D, you should be able to animate your shit in the program.
So you posed it.
Pose, save as a JPEG, JPEG 1, JPEG 2, JPEG 3, JPEG 4.
And I know what's coming next is that there's no undos. There's no history here.
Yeah.
You can't go back. You can only go forwards.
And then I import all those images and Premiere Pro existed at the time, by the way. It was like Premiere Pro 4 or some shit.
I think it was even less. I don't think it was called Pro back then. I think it was just called Premiere.
Premiere, yeah.
And it was horrible. It was a horrible piece of crap back then. It really was.
And then I even had like my short film, I voiced it, I added all the music in, and I to submit it into like the elementary school film festival or art, whatever. And my dad, since he used to film, actually like he filmed a lot of wedding videos. That was like his job. He taught me how to record my short film from the computer to VHS tape. And that's when I went and submitted it into the school programs. But anyways, that led me into figuring out that they have trial discs of Maya and 3D Studio Max at the library in the back of the computer manuals. So I was browsing the local library one day, and in Salt. So I still live in Salt Lake City, but I'm born and raised in Salt Lake. But the Salt Lake City library had like a huge library of 3D books, and all of these books had those 15 to 30-day trial discs. So I took those home, installed them, and I had to learn them as fast as I can because I had a timeline. The days would run out. So I'd read these fat freaking computer manuals and learn Max and Maya. I think it studied 3D Studio Max first, was heavy in the 3D Studio Max, and then eventually got into Maya. And then I got through 56K eventually, and I was able to order 15 to 30-day trial discs from Maya's website. And at the time, it wasn't even Autodesk. It was Alias Wavefront.
Alias Wavefront. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Discrete. That's how you tell them OG, bros. Because I know the original companies that own these packages. Yeah, it was Discrete, 3D Studio Max, Alias, Wavefront, Maya, and then there was a really popular third package called Softimage. Or Softimage XSI.
Yeah,
that was huge. I remember that I wanted to touch that one too because that they used it in Jurassic Park. Like I remember seeing the behind the scenes. I was like, oh, that's Softimage. They used Softimage to model the dinosaurs. But I learned 3D and I got into game design. I was designing games when I was in middle school. I was working on my own first-person shooter, kind of a rip-off of Doom. So I was a huge Doom fan. And the thing is, I found out I was too overambitious, like too fucking overambitious at all. I couldn't finish anything because I just thought I just went into these deep projects. Even at one point, I was able to get my demo of my demon game. It was called Demon Massacre. You probably find it online somewhere on the demo disc of PC Gamer magazine. So PC Gamer at the time was the biggest PC gaming magazine, and there was a disc, and they threw my demo in that disc, which was freaking awesome. I was like 13 or 14 at the time.
Those are the days though, right? You'd buy a magazine and you just rinse the demos. You'd play those demos to death. You become an expert at a demo in a game that would never be released, but you knew the entire world. I mean, I remember that. I remember that so well. And like hacking software to within an inch of its life, just to try and see what you could do with it. I did the same thing with iMovie, like iMovie 1. I also remember that like before Final Cut Pro became Final Cut Pro, it was made by a company called Macromedia, and Apple bought them.
I remember Flash.
Yeah. And I started to make my first films on like Mac OS 9. Oh my God. Mac OS 9 on Final Cut Pro 1. I mean, that sucked so bad.
Yeah.
It was the worst. But like, you had slow motion. You're like, fuck, I've got slow motion. I can take video from a camera and plug it into it. Like I didn't even have VHS decks, but like, being able to author a DVD.
Oh yeah, I remember those days. I went through that too. Yep. But anyway, so I'll try to speed up the whole timeline. But I went from that to eventually scaling back down my problem of being overambitious, and I started doing graphic design, but for my family's business. So my dad and mom, they ran like a photography wedding business out of Salt Lake City, and how I learned Photoshop was my dad. So this is my Photoshop era. So this is like my segue into me becoming a graphic designer. So what year was this? This is early 2000s. Yeah, 2001. No, 1999 to 2000.
Right.
So my dad said, learn Photoshop, because he had clients who requested them to fix their old black and white photos with cracks and then to do a color restoration. He saw some local company in Utah doing it, and like, oh, we got to tap into that market. Here's Photoshop, Chris, learn it. So I started learning it, and I did all photo restoration work. So I was literally throughout my middle school to end of middle school years, fixing black and white photos of people and fixing the cracks, like restoring them and then coloring them and everything. And then from there, I started designing, because I went and filmed a lot with my dad too. I was like, at first I was a battery wrangler. So if you go to these wedding shoots for where they have a camera guy, they have a battery pack that's too big, and usually it's too heavy for the camera guy to wear and hold the camera at the same time. So I was that little kid that had this giant battery pack where I'd follow the camera guy around. But then I eventually learned how to film and learn photography through my dad. Then it was a lot of Spanish weddings that we shot, by the way, and in quinceañeras. So we got clients where they were Spanish bands and they needed CD cover work, album art. So my dad had me design their album covers. And then from there, I started finding passion in designing. So I was like, man, it's so sick to design album covers, because they package it and they sell it to their fans. It's so cool. Then I went into hip hop in 2009. And this is where everything started skyrocketing for me. So I started doing mixtape covers for local rappers. And then I got into designing MySpace layouts. So this is when MySpace started to take on. And then I was one of the first guys to introduce Flash. That's why it's funny that you mentioned Macromedia. I did Flash banners, and I studied HTML and CSS, and I made these MySpace layouts where you had a Flash banner with an animation. So it had like a rapper fly in with jets and sparkles. And I laid it out on this whole layout, and it became a huge trend. And I got discovered by a really famous artist at the time. But at the time, he just got signed and he blew up like the following weeks later. It was Sean Kingston, the dude that sings Beautiful Girls. So he hit me up. He's like, yo, I just got signed. I saw your MySpace layout. Do you want to design mine? I was like, hell yeah. I did it for free. And then every rapper and record label started hitting me up. The Game, Nas, Rick Ross, like boom, 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 boom. So that built up my hip hop career. And from there, I started designing so many MySpaces for even Christina Milian at the time. And then I was like, okay, I got to start to, since the doors opened for me in the hip hop industry, I was like, man, I got to scale these operations up. So I started getting back into my roots of filmmaking. So I started to tell these artists, I direct music videos too. So I went into this whole phase of directing music videos for all my clients. So I shot videos for like Ty Dolla $ign, YG, Anderson .Paak, like you name it, Janae Aiko. I did like a cool motion graphics video with her. Now, how I came up with music videos is I was able to undercut a lot of hip hop video directors because I knew my own CGI, right? So you can pay me the same price and you're going to get robots running around in your shot or whatever you want, because I can make it more grand and more expensive. And when you throw CGI in a music video back in like 2006, 7 or 8, it was considered high budget. Like anything with CGI was considered high budget. So I did that for a while. Then it led me into directing and producing my own films. So I directed and produced a film with produced and edited and did the VFX on a film with Danny Trejo called Zombie Hunter. And then that got pushed to Netflix. So this was like 2012, 2013. And then I directed and produced a film with Danny Trejo again called rarest 2045, where I did like 256 robot shots. It was funny. It was a movie about the drug cartel in Juarez kidnapping scientists to build them a robotic army to run the drug trade. So I shot all that in Utah. Film then got boring to me because I then got introduced to video game skins. So this is how you're going to see how it led up to Artifact right here.
Film got boring for you. Like you just kind of went, music video's done that. Film done that.
Yeah, I don't know. I hopped around things a lot. because I don't know if I had ADHD or I don't know what was going on with me. I was just like, I'll hop in one thing, I'll do a lot of stuff in it, and then I get really bored and hop in the next thing. Like it was just like this creative. I have no idea why I do that, but I even got complaints like, Chris, you need to focus on one thing. You're doing way too many things. Stop doing it. You can't master. You can't master one field if you don't focus on it. I even went to art school. I went to a defunct art school in Los Angeles called Art Institute of Santa Monica. Right out of high school, because they gave me a full ride scholarship, and I went out there to study interactive media and film and everything. And at the same time, I got signed to the games label Black Wall Street as like a graphic designer. As like a little fun fact that no one knows, but if you literally buy the game LAX and you flip it to the credits, there's a section that says shout out to the Black Wall Street, and you list all the members of Black Wall Street. And then my nickname, at the time I was called C Lee. It was in there, like C-L-E, or for Chris Lee. But anyways, my brother got into skin designing and skin collecting via Team Fortress 2. So this is like, I think 2010 or 2011. And he was showing me this world of collecting skins, hats. They call it hats, actually. And people were trading these hats and earbuds and making money. And there's this whole economy for Team Fortress 2. And that intrigued me a lot, because I was like, this is weird. This is crazy that people put value in these assets and they're trading it. Then Dota 2 got released. And Dota is something that I played when I was a little kid with all my family and friends on Warcraft 3. It was like a mod. But then Valve Software announced Dota 2, released that. And they released a workshop where my brother entered in and submitted skins. And he watched me do 3D growing up. So it was something that he wanted to do as well. He wanted to be a 3D artist. He got his first skin accepted. And my whole family saw the first check that came in. And it was a huge lump sum of money. We were scratching our head. We're like, wait, you can make money with skins? This doesn't make any sense. So I told my brother, hey, let's collab on a skin together. The first set of skins, I'll texture them, but I'll do the marketing video for it, because I have my background in CG videos. I can produce like video game cinematic type stuff. So he'll create the sets, I'll skin them or texture them, and I'll make videos with those skins, and they go viral. Like the Dota 2 community was eating it up. And that's when we got another skin accepted that I was attached to. And then Dota Cinema hit me up. So Dota Cinema at the time was like the biggest Dota YouTube channel. And they hit me up to do a collab. So I did a set with them for this hero named Sven. And it got accepted into Valve's Dota 2 game. That's when I started creating more and more of these Dota 2 skins, and it was awesome. Like, it was life-changing. And it was so cool to see people trade these skins, make money. And there's a whole community of artists submitting 3D assets in to get accepted. Then from there, I went straight into Counter-Strike Global Offensive, CSGO, and started designing a bunch of CSGO skins, and they were getting accepted. And I started to brand myself as an influencer, as a skin influencer who designs skins. So yeah, you had Virgil Abloh, who designs, like sneakers and stuff. But I wanted to be the Virgil Abloh of skins, like just putting my work out there as an artist and in video games. So I wanted to start tapping into different games, and eventually even got a skin into like Rainbow Six Siege. Now, to build myself up as an influencer, I needed to make viral content. So one of the things that struck with people was this idea I had of taking my skins and slapping them on Yeezys, Air Jordan 1s, Air Force 1s. And I put that out on Instagram, and it was going viral, super viral. Because people are like, oh, wow, yeah, it's sneakers, skins, like it makes sense. And at the time, a lot of gamers, this is when Twitch started becoming big, and gamers were now becoming the cool kids. They were hype beasts as well. They collected Yeezys. So it made a lot of sense with the idea of sneakers and skins. And my Instagram account was funny. If you scroll through it, it didn't make sense if you had no context of what it is, because it always showed like an Air Jordan 1 and a gun. Like, people are like, Chris's account is just guns and sneakers, like with colorful graphics. So now leading to Artifact is this is how Artifact started. Was I got introduced to Benoit via another CS:GO skin designer named Brock Coffer, and Benoit at the time was a brand manager at Fnatic. And then he hit me up to do a bunch of collabs. So we did like a weapon skin together for Fnatic. And then we did some sneaker collabs where there were just concept art that we just posted on the Fnatic Instagram account as content. They went viral. And eventually Fnatic got invited in 2018 to the League of Legends World Championship. And I designed the sneakers for the 5 players. Benoit was like, we got to make these shoes into reality. We didn't know how to make them because I'm just a designer. I don't know how to make physical shoes. And that's how when Benoit discovered Zaptio, our third co-founder, and he got brought in to the mix to make these shoes into a reality. After that, we had huge demand, huge requests. We decided to just stop what we're doing and form a new company, Artifact.
When you shop for plane tickets, you probably use Kayak, Expedia, or Google Flights. So why would you limit yourself to just one exchange when you trade crypto? To make sure you're getting the best possible price, you should use a DEX aggregator like Matcha. Matcha routes your orders across all the various DeFi exchanges on Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche, BSC, Phantom, CeLo, and Optimism to provide the best possible prices without taking any commissions. Matcha has integrated fiat on-ramps so you can buy directly with your credit or debit card and uses smart order routing that splits your order across multiple liquidity sources. With Matcha, you can make limit orders on chain so you can set and forget your DeFi trades. And now Matcha even offers gasless trading. Head over to matcha.xyz/Defiant and connect your wallet to start smarter with Matcha. It's humbling. Genuinely humbling to hear you talk about all of this. I've kind of done some weird and wonderful things throughout my career, and also have that same need to kind of jump from things to things. I've also directed a feature film, didn't have Danny Trejo in it, but like that was an itch you've got to scratch if you're in film. Music videos, done a buttload of them, and all of these things, they're all just a bit annoying. Like making a feature film is just time intensive, and it's always a budget that doesn't quite fit, and like all of these kind of things. You said this was life-changing for you. Can you drill down deeper into what it was about this that was life-changing for you? What was it that suddenly made you think, you know what, I can stick around for like more than a couple of years and really sink my teeth into this?
Yeah, first off, the community was insane. The money coming in was wild. It's something I'd never seen before as a young college student. And it changed my family too, because the money was coming in and I was, like paying off my parents' house with my brother, buying him gifts, etc. It was just wild. And it all stemmed from skins, which is crazy. This led my art to becoming very recognized in the video game community, especially Counter-Strike and Dota 2. It gave me like endorsement deals with a lot of gaming brands, peripheral brands. Even like I did this gaming energy drink for this brand called X Gamer, and they gave me my own like Clegfx powder, like energy drink powder. And I even did a mouse with Fnatic that Benoit hooked up. It was really cool, but yeah, it skyrocketed myself as like an influencer in the gaming space, which was really cool. Yeah, it just became a totally different lifestyle because even though I was still doing content, VFX videos and everything, the film stuff before then was crazy because, like you said, there was a budget. Since I was doing everything on my own because the budget was small, like these films, I had to get them funded on Kickstarter. So we would produce them. And then go ask for more money on Kickstarter for finishing funds to do post stuff like sound, because I'm not really a sound guy. But I felt like that phase of my life was very unhealthy because I was sitting behind a computer almost every day working on 250 something robot shots. It was just insane.
You then confront the awful reality, which is that films don't make money, and that there are thousands of them made every year, and that the audience is limited, and the audience wants to go and see Marvel, and it's very difficult to find an audience and retain an audience when the next film will be 2-3 years down the line. So I think we've all kind of, a lot of us who came from the film industry have realized that model doesn't work. Not if you want to create, not if you actually enjoy creating stuff. Yeah. So that brings us to Artifact and creating shoes, or specifically digital sneakers. What was it like in those early days? What was the mission? What were you trying to achieve? And how many people did you have in the Artifact company at that point?
Yeah, it was very small. It was literally Benoit, Zaptio, and I, and a couple people. But when we first started, we knew we wanted to do digital sneakers connected to physicals. It made a lot of sense. And the digital sneakers are traded on a marketplace like Steam. And even at the time, we had experiments in the NFT space. And it's funny because we didn't even call them NFTs at the time. And no one was calling them NFTs. Even before Artifact, like I dropped an NFT project with this company called Wax. So they raised an ICO like in 2017. They started to compete against Valve by creating their own weapons marketplace with skins. So they hit me up to do a collab, like a Clegfx collab that did well. And then Benoit and I even dropped NFTs via Fnatic on Twitch with Wax. So you connect your Wax wallet and you watch the Fnatic stream and you got airdropped NFTs. So this is 2000, I think late 2018. And then, so that was always engraved in our brain. Like we had to do these digital items that can be traded, that went into a wallet, et cetera. But early days, we were raising money. So when we dropped what we were doing, we were trying to raise money in 2019. We hit up a bunch of VCs. And the thing is, a lot of them didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were way too early. They're scratching their heads. And we had to basically tell everybody, look, there's two big collecting bases, like economies. The biggest one in digital and the biggest one in physical is skins and sneakers. It only makes sense that you combine them together. Two VCs believed in us. It was Galaxy Digital, which is, Mike Novogratz, and then GFR Fund, this really dope VC firm out of Silicon Valley, where they invest into AR and XR projects in games. So we raised in late 2019 and then opened up shop in 2020 in January. And then Zaptio brought in his crew from his custom sneaker company, because he used to run one of the most successful, actually the most successful customs company in London called Frey. And Zaptio, super smart entrepreneurial genius. He was like doing bots, like he created Supreme bots that botted Supreme and sneakers and stuff. Then his Frey company took off, and then we converted that into the Artifact physical side. So we were doing a lot of experimentation, creating physical sneakers, a lot of trial and error. We were literally cutting up Jordans. Like we take a Jordan and rip the top off. And the thing is, like, ripping the sole from an Air Jordan is one of the hardest things ever. Nike does a good job of gluing that sucker on there. Like you have to pour a lot of acetone and just really try to rip it. It's very hard, by the way. Like it can hurt. Like you're sitting there pulling that thing. And we were sitting there experimenting, sewing sneakers, printing on sneakers. And then we did our first drop COVID happened. And then I had to move back to Utah because I moved to London for a minute just to set up shop with Zaptio. I moved back to London and the shop was operating. It was a very small crew. I think it was on Z's end on the physical production side, like 5-6 guys. And then it was me in the US, Benoit in Paris, and Zaptio overseeing the production in London. And we did our first drop where we bought some Air Force Ones and we ripped the swoosh off and we cut out the Artifact blade and stitched onto the shoe, and then we printed bones on them, and that's what became the Bones Captain sneaker, which was inspired by Fortnite. They had a skin of Fortnite called Bone Trooper. That did okay. It sold, and then from there, we started trying to figure out other drops. We did like a drop based off of a really big meme at the time from Grand Theft Auto called Green versus Purple. It's like an alien meme where you had the purple gang versus the Green Gang. And we did shoes, we dropped those. And then we started running out of money because the sales weren't very high. Like we did physical first, knowing that we would eventually do a digital project or a digital platform. Because at the same time, we were trying to get an app made to release digital shoes where you can link the shoe with the digital product on the marketplace and trade them. What skyrocketed Artifact was when we took the leap of faith and dropped an NFT again. And the thing is, we didn't want to drop an NFT in that era because we started landing video game publisher partnerships, and they have a big stigma with crypto. They didn't want to do anything on crypto. So we held off on the NFT thing for a while until we decided, you know what, let's do it. Let's take the leap of faith and drop the cyber sneaker. And the rest was history. Yep.
Step Finance is the front page of Solana. Crypto moves fast with hundreds of applications and new things launching daily. Keeping track of it all is a full-time job. Step brings everything into one easy-to-use dashboard. Step's portfolio management dashboard enables Solana users to visualize, analyze, execute, and aggregate transactions across all Solana contracts at the click of a button. Step is built by DeFi degenerates for DeFi degenerates. Get started today by visiting step.finance and connect your wallet today. So the cyber sneaker was, I seem to remember there was a video where you could see it moving, and it's the Cybertruck. Elon actually wore this, right?
No, he never did.
There's a photo. There's a photo of him wearing them. Or did someone?
No, he never wore it. No, here's the thing. So while creating Artifact, this is where my VFX magic comes in. I feel like as a VFX artist, you're a magician. So yes. I was always able to composite images very well. So all our Artifact content was my hands. I had like a green screen shoe, and I cut it out, replaced it with the CG model shoe. I even did videos where I'm rotating a 3D shoe in my hand. And they went viral because people thought they were real. So when the Cybertruck came out, we decided to, make a sneaker based off the Cybertruck. So I designed this crazy sneaker that resembled the Cybertruck very well, and found this photo of Elon Musk and Grimes at the art was it Art Gala? No, the Met Gala. I think this is a Met Gala 2019. Is it 2019? I think it's 20. I can't remember. Anyways, so I superimposed the cyber sneakers on the image, and the image I found of Elon and Met Gala was the least popular one because it was him standing with his back facing the camera. So a lot of the press sites and news sites didn't use that image. They used a more appealing image from the front. But I took that image and I graffitied this cool art style on Elon's tux, and then put the cyber sneakers on there and released that to the world, and people thought it was real. Everyone thought it was real. We never said it was real at all. We never said it was real. We just we told people, hey, you can manifest it and think it's real, and eventually it will become reality. Like, that's why we always say, like, how do you know what is real? Once that's placed out there and everybody gets it engraved in their head, it technically can be real, right? So even Unbox Therapy, I think his name is Lou or something, the host of Unbox Therapy, he did a podcast segment about the cyber sneaker, and he thought it was real as well. And even during our super rare auction, there was a guy that bidded like 60 ETH, and he dropped out. I didn't know you can drop your bid on super rare, which is what was odd because you can't do that in an auction house. But he backed out because he thought it was real. He found out it was fake. And again, we never mentioned it was real anywhere, right? So he's like, oh, I'm disappointed. Elon Musk actually didn't wear the shoe. And then the second guy, there was another highest bidder, DCL Blogger, I believe. He's the one that came in and bought it up for 30 ETH, which was awesome.
That's Matty. Yeah, we had him on the show like 2 weeks ago. Good guy.
Oh, really? Yeah, he was a DCL Blogger, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Just want to make sure I get his name right.
Yeah, no, he's DCL Blogger. Yeah, Aussie guy. Yeah. So that kind of takes us to, I guess, phase one. and forging. So you buy an NFT. So there's the Jeff Staples collaboration. I have a couple of Jeff Staples on my shelf. I've got the real sneakers, but they're not Nikes. So somewhere in the middle of all of this, you caught the eye of the biggest sneaker manufacturer on the planet. I want to know how this happened. I want to know what the conversations were like. Tell me as much as you were allowed to tell me, because I'm sure there's stuff you can't tell me. But like, how do you go from these scrappy kids like ripping Air Jordans apart to like making Nike? This is like blew my mind when I heard about it. It's crazy.
Yeah. So no one. I mean, we mentioned this a few times before. So before the acquisition, Benoit, Zaptio, and I each did something with Nike a long time ago, but it still had nothing to do with them reconnecting back with us, because Nike is a really, really, really big company. So we all collaborated with their like internal groups on cool projects, etc. So we kind of were on the radar a little bit, I think, but I believe it was after the Ferocious drop and the Jeff Staple drop, they probably were looking at us and saying like, okay, who the fuck are these guys? But what was crazy is, I want to take it back a little bit. The story is insane, because when we finished raising for Artifact, like our pre-seed, Benoit, Zaptio, and I took a trip to Japan together, and to celebrate the raise and to get inspiration from Japan. We just barely finished raising. Hey, if you're going to start Artifact, let's go to Tokyo and let's check out all this art, meet with some video game studios out there, anime studios, and see what we can do. When we landed, our phones got hit with messages. People are like, dude, you got to check this out. Look what just got released. It was the Nike Crypto Kicks patent. And we were like, oh shit. We read through the patent, and a lot of the stuff in the patent was what we wanted to do. We were like, oh no. So do we do this? We don't know. How do we go around these patents? We hit our lawyers up. Please figure this patent out for us. We took the leap of faith with that and said, okay, let's go. Let's just continue Artifact. So fast forward, after we raised our second round with Andreessen Horowitz, Nike DM'd Benoit, and we didn't know that we didn't take it serious, because we got hit up by Nike previously too, again, with their internal groups. Like Nike has all kinds of different groups that handle a bunch of different stuff. So we got hit up by a bunch of many brands, and a lot of these brands, they always contact us to try to, take information from us, because they're seeing how popular Web3 is becoming. They want to pick our brain. So, and then we only wanted to also collab with brands we liked. So we were cautious with talking to different brands. When Nike hit up Benoit, it was quite interesting, because we didn't know if it was serious or not, but it was mergers and acquisitions. So we were like, this can't be real, because it's too early. We just finished raising with A6 and Z, like literally finished raising, I believe, in April, and they hit us up like right after that. From there, we had discussions, etc., and the rest was history. And I can't go too deep into what was happening, but the thing is, it went on for months, and it was awesome, because we always joked that Nike would acquire us one day. We wanted that to happen. We said there's only a few companies that would acquire us. Like me personally, I wanted either Nike or Valve Software or Epic Games to acquire us, because I feel like we were like the perfect fit for that. But other than that, yeah, the whole Nike thing was awesome. And it's funny because we, if you've seen, we launched the Crypto Kicks again as the Nike Dunk Genesis. So it's funny how it came full circle, where they released a patent, and then we were able to now bring that patent back and use it for our projects, which is super cool.
Yeah, and you get to use the Nike swoosh. You get to use it. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of legalities that you have to go through before you can even start to use it, but it's pretty wild. I first spoke to Benoit, must have been spring 2020, and we just had a chat, and we basically, the impression I got of him was that he's like a massive libertarian, like I fully behind decentralization, fully behind like stick it to the man, which is why it was curious to me that of all the moves that you would have made, like Nike's about as kind of mainstream and corporate as it's possible to be. So I'm curious, really, where you saw like spunky, punky artifacts sitting within this massive corporate structure at Nike.
Yeah. So first off, I felt like Nike was always ahead of the game with a lot of this kind of stuff. They kind of were dabbling in Web3. Like they did the Roblox thing. I mean, look, they did a CryptoKicks patent a long time ago, like 2000 or early, I think late 2019 or early 2020 was when it got released, the patent, or got leaked. But we felt like it was a match made in heaven because first off, they want to go into the metaverse. They want to be a part of this. Our sole purpose is to help them, show them the way and how to do this, because Nike has a huge fan base, huge customer base. And we want to introduce them into our world. And what better platform than Nike? Right. They've been huge in culture for years with sneakers, et cetera. They've actually tapped into esports a long time ago, too. So we knew they were the right people, the right fit for us. It's so cool. And we also need their resources to make quality sneakers and clothes. Like that was like the number one thing. We had to do everything ourselves. But with Nike backing us, we can use all their resources to create like really cool stuff. And they have a really good innovations department where they invented the Nike Air Max. Like so many cool things that I feel like they're almost like a bigger, crazier version of us. Like if we decided to go physicals, like I felt like their team synergizes with us very well. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty heartening to hear, because you do think nostalgically back to like those iconic sneakers that have stayed with us through. I mean, we're not exactly the same age, but it's very similar age and grown up with Jordan and basketball and just iconic. And Adidas was always associated with hip hop, but Nike's always, sporting excellence. But it's just wild to see digital sneakers that are cool and have a cool piece of technology connected to them as well. I just want to dip into clones briefly, because that's a whole other topic. And I've actually covered that previously with Benoit, but you're talking about clothes. I know that the clone collection itself took months and months and months to put together, but there was a reason for that. And I'm assuming that it's because some of those items could see a physical counterpart. I'm on the right path there, possibly?
Possibly.
No alpha today.
No,
wow, they've got you buttoned up tight, haven't they? No, fair enough. Well, we knew the rules of engagement before we got into this, but the monolith box opened up and inside were sneakers. I think you've achieved one of the extraordinary things here, which is the value of the items post-reveal is the same as it was pre-reveal. I've never seen anything like that. And that's because you had a box within a box, obviously, but that's pretty impressive.
And crazy utility, man. Like skin vials, clicking it into shoes and loading up a skin. Like that's why we feel like the community felt it was justified to value those assets in that way.
So the technology is, I forget what the OS is called, but you designed your own OS for specifically having these skin vials that you can drop into sneakers. That was built in-house? I mean, how did you do all of that?
Everything was built in-house. We have a talented dev team. Our CTO, Sam, is a freaking genius. Like this guy is a genius. They're it's too hard to put into words, but they're killers at their craft. They did everything well. They executed everything so amazingly. But we feel like kids again, because the whole skin thing is again inspired by video games and skins, like how you can equip skins. So we knew we always wanted to do something on that concept.
Are we going to see forgeable versions of these sneakers?
We hinted at something, again, no alpha, but
You can't hint at stuff if it's not real.
Yeah. I mean, we did a tweet where it said Forge on the same day we released the dunks. So
DidX is the future of decentralized derivatives trading. The exchange is on a mission to build the world's leading crypto trading platform. To further this mission, the team is now developing the next version of the protocol, version 4. DidX v4, launching at the end of 2022, will be open source, fully decentralized, and entirely controlled by the community. To help power this next step, the community has launched a grants program with funding allocated to open source builders, contributors, and ecosystem integrations. Come help build the future of decentralized trading at DidX Grants. Well, we've just seen Space Drip, which was, I mean, that's an ancient old project by Web3 standards. They can be forged now, but they're Nikes.
Yeah, Nike and the Artifact blade on the other side. Very historic moment. See, this project put a tear to my eye because pre-Artifact, when I was designing sneakers, my whole ambition was to get my own Air Force One or my own sneaker colorway, or better yet, a silhouette. Like getting a silhouette at Nike is like the grail for any designer. Like if you can get a silhouette, it's like you got your bucket list checked off. Before that, though, you can get a colorway. And usually the colorways are simple. They can do some modifications, etc. But what we did was insane because first off, we've proven that we take care of all our old past projects. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We go back we treat all our projects as, like say if a video game company had multiple IPs and they have teams that still work on these IPs. That's how we treat our projects. Like they're games that are going to keep on updating. So Space Trip, we brought that back in and we gave 19 artists their own Air Force One, including myself, which is crazy. And the technique is awesome. Like you're going to see the artist graphic get printed on an Air Force One. And on top of that, the blade sits on the inside of the shoe, showing like it's, how it's a collab with Nike. It's just so crazy. And a lot of these artists are not even big artists. Like when we were working with these artists, they were small. We just liked the artwork and we wanted to give them an opportunity. Like one of them is like Jaden. Jaden's a freaking talent artist. At the time he was 15 years old, I think Benoit found him and he was talking to Benoit. Benoit brought him into this project. And it's something that we've always wanted to do because myself coming from the Steam workshop, I was that small artist who got an opportunity where Valve Software published my skin into their ecosystem, and it changed my life. So I want to, scale that up to the mass audience. So the Space Trip project was that, which was cool. And, the kids got royalties from them. It's so freaking cool. And on top of that, Paris Hilton entered in last minute and blessed them all, followed all the artists, and it gave them more publicity. Man, the Space Trip project was awesome.
Yeah. And it's been so nice rediscovering them. And when you post them on Twitter, it's like this kid is 23 years old and you look at it and go, holy shit. Like suddenly the journey is like, oh my God, this is a platform, a genuine platform. And it's not just about, a central creator reaping all the rewards and then sort of some of it trickles down. No, I think the Artifact promise, as you rightly said, you reach back in time and you validate all your old projects. You don't forget about them, but you genuinely help creators. If I was that 23-year-old kid and I was looking at that sneaker, just going, you could really do something with that. And that's very cool. I think there's also something you said as well, which is about execution. And I think of the last 18 months, really you guys and Yuga are on a different plane when it comes to execution. Like there's just like when you drop something, you're just like, damn, okay, that's legit. That's real. And it's not many that have been able to execute continuously and keep executing continuously. And I think that's why, people should take very care of their artifact items and make sure that, they don't sell them frivolously, because there will be something further down the line. And I guess as you include more and more items into the ecosystem, it'll only get more intriguing I'm digging for stuff here. What can you tell me? Like what's on the roadmap in the future that you can tell us? Is there anything that, I mean, I guess we're going to see legs on the clones, but
no alpha, man.
Oh, come on, man.
Oh, no alpha. I mean, we're slowly gonna, drop the face filters for Clone-X. A lot of people kind of expect that right now. Other than that, man, I can't. Like, our roadmap is so secretive.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. But the vials. When evolution? When can we evolve them?
Soon.
All I want is just like to be able to forge a pair of Murakami Air Force Ones. That's it. That's all I want. And my life is complete. But I think your intuition to marry sneaker culture with skins was so on point. I don't think any of us even realized quite how on point that was yet. So our last question for you, which is really about the metaverse. What is your kind of grand vision for what the metaverse could be? Because I guess you must have one to have designed what you've designed.
Yeah. Everybody wants to build that grand oasis. And I feel like that's exactly what it's going to be. But I'm looking at it. Some people are like saying, oh, no, we don't want that. It's a Black Mirror thing, right? I'm looking at it from a positive standpoint. So the true metaverse is actually going to help sustainability heavily, where planet Earth is actually going to be healthy again. Because right now I feel like Earth is going through shit with global warming and all this crap happening around the world. My thing is, if we can place consumerism, because as human beings, we're big into consuming things. Like it's engraved in our brain now. Like we have to buy stuff. Like that's why we collect. That's another reason why we create artifacts. Like you see sneaker collectors buy 2 pairs of shoes. They keep one and then they sell one, and they don't even wear it, or they buy 3 to shelve, to wear and to sell. Like, what's the point of that? You can cut all that crap off by just having the digital item itself, and then you can forge the physical to wear. But the metaverse I envision is in the future, consumerism habits will be placed on the metaverse. People will live in smaller places. There's no need for giant houses or multiple houses. You just need one place, because your houses that you collect are going to be in the metaverse. But you'll pour it into VR, AR. But when you go back into the real world, I picture the Earth being healthy again. Like Mother Nature has overtaken the planet. More trees, animals are back. And some people will be like, well, I still love the city. I want to go to New York. I want to go to a bar and hang out with friends. But isn't it better to go into like a forest and you put your AR glasses on, and the trees, like you're breathing great air, and the trees are covered by like buildings and a bar with your friends in there too. So I feel like there's going to be a huge use of AR in the physical world. And you'll be able to jump into VR at the same time from whatever location into different parts of the world. So it's going to be like kind of like the Rick and Morty thing, where you have a portal gun. You go into different realities, into different VR experiences. And I think this is going to be about 10 years away from now, if not longer, because the technology has to develop, and we have a long ways to go. Because even putting on a VR headset, it's still kind of cumbersome.
It's very cumbersome. Yeah. But we keep talking about Apple AR glasses. Like Apple's going to, come in and do this thing. But do you have a vision on like Meta's vision for what Horizon Worlds and these kind of things look like?
Yeah, they're trying to they're trying to go towards the same Oasis thing as well. Again, to me, what I like is we're working in reverse compared to a lot of other metaverse companies. Like I feel like creating a world first and dropping people in is not the right move. I feel like working in reverse is the best move. So like as a kid, you get put in a room and you get to decorate your room. And then from there you grow up, you go to college or whatever. And then the next step is to buy a house or rent a house, and you get a plot of land, right? I feel like that's why what we did with space pods and the loot pod is awesome, because you kind of give a boundary to these people, say, hey, you can decorate your stuff with these NFTs, but these people now, as creators, start to break that rule, and they modify, they skin the whole building. Like we're getting them used to creating in a smaller scale until you can scale it up. And I feel like that's the proper way of building the metaverse. I'm not sure with what Meta or Facebook Meta is doing. But I mean, I love what they're doing with Horizons and everything. And I feel like it's going to look really cool in the future. Like I like the idea of I like their technology sector of how they're scanning people, and you can have like a face-to-face conversation in AR or VR, one-to-one 3D model to the person controlling that 3D model. I think that's really cool, and I love their haptics. So I feel like they're gonna have a huge part to play with the haptics, because they are working on the gloves, and that's one of the most important things in VR and AR if we want the metaverse to exist, because people still need something tangible. We still need a smell, we still need a taste and feel. So
yeah, very interesting. Not heard the metaverse kind of explained as a kind of return to paradise on Earth. That's kind of interesting. All right, last question for you, because I want to squeeze one last one. If I'm a young creator and I want to get involved with RTFKT, how would I go about it?
Oh man, join our Discord community, even Twitter. The thing about if you don't know the Clegfx community, the RTFKT community, they are a freaking crazy, amazing community that's very supportive. I've seen so many people who are not creators, once they just get into the Twitter the Twitter community and even join some of the community Twitter spaces, it's almost like a virus. Like you just get infected, and then you're addicted to the space because the community is so accepting and loving. They'll bring you in. There's all these tutorials that everybody does. Kreia does some tutorials for us, but in our Discord account, everybody shares ideas, work, thoughts, and they all collaborate together. And we also always do our creative challenges. So the creator challenges are awesome. Usually the prizes are insane. Like you get to publish an NFT with us. So that's one way to join in, is to do these challenges and then pick up the 3D program like Blender or learn Photoshop or something.
Yeah, because I often worry that people will be intimidated by you guys, because the execution is so good that they wouldn't think, oh my God, there's no place for me in RTFKT. And I think the opposite's the case. I think you guys support grassroots more than anyone else, and that's a message that probably should be heard around the place. So listen, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time. This was everything I hoped it would be, and I can't wait to see what's coming next, even if you can't tell me. But I know it's going to be awesome, and I think it just shows that if you have a really strong idea and you have like the passion to make it happen, this space is a wonderful space for us to be working in. And that's a great inspiring message to young creatives out there, and I hope it gets through.
Thank you so much for having me, man. This was an awesome interview. I can't wait to see it. This is really cool.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Hopefully speak to you again sometime.
Peace.
Cheers. Peace.
Bye.